Hello, this video is what I think about biology. I was inspired to do this one because I saw a very interesting series of videos by a biologist called Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton. I recommend seeing his videos. There's one that's 17 10-minute segment videos long, and he's very animated and excited because he's trying to explain to us the new biology, the new way in which we should look at biology. This is an old guy, so he knows how we thought about biology from before and what we think about biology now. He is very emotional about it. So basically, what we thought about biology before is supposedly everything that happens in our body comes from our nucleus of our cells, where all the DNA is. So, back in World War II and before, people were really into eugenics, having to sterilize certain people just because they don't, perform so well in like memorization tests or whatever. And then, racism, justifying racism, thinking that everything's written in your genes and there's nothing really you're going to be able to do about it. So, this group of people over here are stupid, need to be wiped off the face of the planet, like this race or this other people here. And Bruce Lipton is saying, no, 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 no. We are not subject to our genes. We are not subject to our DNA. Because DNA does not work like that. All DNA is a series of possibilities. So, if you're born into a family, say of basketball players, you have more of a possibility of a chance to be a basketball player. If you're born in a family of mathematicians, you have more of a chance, a possibility to be a mathematician because you have more of those genes. But that compared to somebody born into a family of mathematicians, like if comparing two people, somebody adopted who their biological family is a bunch of mathematicians and they're adopted by a bunch of farmers. This person is going to grow up to be a farmer, more likely to grow up to be a farmer than the person whose biological family are farmers and then they grow up in a family of mathematicians. The effect, I'm putting this really poorly, but the effects are are much more prone to your environment than to your genetics because your genes are not out there, controlling everything. They are wrapped up in a sheath that can only be unlocked by a certain protein in a certain configuration. And that protein can only be signaled by another protein on the outside of the cell in a certain configuration. So, somebody could have cancer gene in their body their whole life, and that gene will never mean anything to them because it's behind the sheath, latent their whole life, and it can only be activated through an outside source. So, our cells in our body and our genes are not controlled by the nucleus. They're only controlled by the outside. So how are they controlled by the outside? It is, first, I guess he came to this idea by taking all of these sick cells and then putting them in, and then taking taking the nucleus out of the cell, and the cells continue to live and thrive until they die because the nucleus can't create more material for the cell to be built out of. But and then he got these other cells, and that were sick but still had their nucleuses, and then they would put them into a petri dish with healthy cells, and then they would become healthy. And what else did he do? Oh man, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. And then they also, he would take stem cells, and then he would put them in various petri dishes with other cells, and then they would become those cells, like muscle cell, hair cell, bone cell. So your cells in your body, your gene is controlled by the outside world. So how are they controlled by the outside world? When it all comes down to it, your whole body is controlled by your brain and your heart, which then somehow tell all of your genes to do what you tell them to do. So if you go to a doctor and the doctor says you've had your contacts in for 6 months, you're probably going to get eye fungus because of that. And then you go home and you go, oh man, I'm going to get eye fungus. Eye fungus. And then you picture eye fungus in your brain and you go, oh man, yeah, eye fungus. Well, I wonder when it's going to come. Eye fungus, and then the body goes, oh, what? Eye fungus? We're getting eye fungus? And so then the signal goes into the cell. That protein attaches to the outside of the cell, signals the other protein on the inside of the cell to go run into the nucleus, unlock that particular gene. Well, maybe I'm not using it right with the eye fungus example, but maybe the guy goes, you're genetically prone to getting cancer. If you smoke too much cigarettes, you're going to get cancer because you're genetically prone. And then it goes, okay, cancer. Goes to that cancer cell, unravels it, and then boom, the cancer cells are running wild. So, basically, we have a whole lot more power than we thought we did with our minds. We can either make ourselves healthy by believing ourselves healthy and tricking ourselves into thinking that we're healthy and then being healthy, or we can make ourselves sick by sending those sick messages to ourselves to unlock those sick genes. So basically, this throws the whole idea of eugenics completely out the window. That eugenics is stupid, and racism as well. And we look around the world and we see kids look very different races. Kids from Korea and Africa who grow up in affluent households, and they're fine. They're just like everybody else, because the environment is what controls you. Now, my particular attitude about the different talents of races is I do think that they have different genes and different talents, but that compared to the environment is probably like 0.1% genes, 99.9% environment. And that perhaps, and I don't know if he talked about this, but genes actually mutate a lot faster than we realize they do. Genes and people and organisms, they adapt to their environment and what they perceive their environment to be, and they do that rather quickly, and so their offspring could actually be born with a whole different set of genes. Actually, I think I'm pretty much out of time. I had a couple more points to make, but I kind of forgot. So it's pretty amazing, the possibilities. The mind controls everything, and the genes don't. We tell the body what to do, and the body goes, okay, let's do it. So maybe maybe it's possible to completely heal yourself. Instead of getting stitches, you just heal yourself right there, if you can concentrate hard enough and believe it. So anyway, I'm out of time. That's new bio.